more importantly, you know what you don't have.
Exactly.
And now you can answer honestly.
Right. And I can't stress enough, please answer honestly, because you don't want to give them their get out of jail free card.
Hi, I'm Eric.
I'm Mike.
Welcome to Cyber Sitrep.
Woohoo!
We made it to the edge.
What episode are we on? Because we're getting used to this.
I know we are. So this Sitrep is the Cybersecurity 101, small business focus. This is Edge. So thanks for sticking with us. We've gone through the intro, the core, rings 1 through 3, and now we're on Edge. And if you guys remember our original discussion, this is the hardest and longest thing to do. And in fact, we kind of cheat at the end and make this a continual do loop, right? Because there's the spoiler, right?
If you notice, most things in IT, they're made as a circle.
Yeah, they never go away.
Because you start again.
Yeah, not even a Mobius strip, but a circle, right?
That's right.
A hamster wheel, if you will. But so we gave away the ending there. But
that's right.
That's what we're going to do. We're going to wrap it all up here. Talk about the Edge. Why we had to save these things for the Edge for good reason, right?
This requires a lot of your upper management, a lot of the senior leadership.
Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah.
Senior leader that's watching this.
Exactly. So remember, we said we were going more from tech to management. Now we're pretty much on full management here, right?
That's right.
The technical is minuscule. To Mike's point, it's all management at this point,
That's right. So we start off with cyber security insurance.
Right, which we did another Sitrep on that.
That's right.
Mike, that was one of your pet projects. Very near and dear to your heart.
Well, because we see it. And
yes.
what I will tell any small business is this is your moving of risk away.
Yes.
You're kind of, transferring that risk to the insurance company. Right. However, cyber insurance, just like any other insurance, their model isn't to pay everyone all the time. It's to make sure you've done your due diligence before they pay out.
Right.
So that's what the core, ring 1, ring 2, ring 3, that's what it brings you, is you showing you've done this due diligence to us at the Edge. Now you can buy some cyber insurance.
Right. So now when you get that questionnaire, which could be really onerous depending on your provider,
that's right.
Now you'll know how to answer it truthfully, right? Because you've gone all the way through the other steps, and now you know what you have. More importantly, you know what you don't have.
Exactly.
And now you can answer honestly.
Right. And I can't stress enough, please answer honestly, because you don't want to give them their get out of jail free card because they gave you insurance and you said you were doing something and you were not doing.
Talk about a really bad day, right? Thinking you can count on that
last thing you want,
$1 million in coverage, and then because you lied on one question, then they deny your claim.
And a lot of small businesses feel that they have like their G&A and they have exclusions or other things that they can tack on.
And G&A, what does that mean?
The general
and administrative
insurance.
Acronyms. We're really trying to break acronyms out.
And
it's all right. That's the only one so far that we totally missed.
You caught it.
Well,
so
yeah,
we didn't miss it.
Fact.
Eric got it. But there are tons of insurance things out there, and they don't necessarily cover your cyber. You have to get a separate or some specific cyber insurance.
Right. So that's why, once again, we save this for last. Should you have it up front, that'd be great. But you really need to know what you're getting into and signing up for and what you really need, right?
And what it'll cover.
Absolutely right. Do you have blanket coverage? Is it only, intrusions, et cetera, whatever it happens to be? Hopefully at this point, going through everything else, now you are much more savvy on what you're shopping for, right?
Exactly.
With this insurance. So that's why we save it. Also, personal experience for our company, we had to have an up-to-date business plan, which I know a lot of people are like, oh, business plans, they're awful, they're horrible. We had to have one because back when we went for cyber insurance, and this wasn't all that long ago, this was like 8 years ago, literally none of the insurers knew what we did. When we said we were a cybersecurity company, and I'm not kidding you, I was like, what?
I was going to say my business plan was make money, and I just
right. Well, unfortunately,
that's my plan.
We had a really nice business plan that we developed through the Small Business Development Center. Right, it was a 8-week long, course, very in depth, and so we had a good business plan. Thank God, because the insurers are like, well, we don't really know what you guys do. Give us your business plan so we can get a better idea of what you guys are all about. And we're like, well, thank goodness we just happened to have one, a big 80-page business plan. Here you go. And sure enough, within the week, we got our insurance. because that answered the questions they had.
They knew exactly what you were doing.
So
Yep.
it saved our bacon, and it may save your bacon as well. So if you've got a business plan and it's woefully out of date, blow the dust off of it, update it. If you don't have one, then please look that up and please get professional advice and get one done for your organization. You may
it can
stay in
help with
business
so
longer.
much more. It can help with financing and other things as well. So.
Especially with financing, right? Okay. Enough said on that. What do we have next?
We're going to develop and maintain your cybersecurity policies, your information assurance policies, and your procedures and how you implement said policies.
Right.
This is yes, we're doing it, but did we annotate it? Is it in writing?
Right. Exactly.
So this is where you have to go through and thou shall. So
yes.
We talk about passwords earlier and having long passwords. Well, it's great that you've implemented that, but do we have a policy telling all our employees that they're required to do that? So that's where our policies come into play.
Absolutely. And to Mike's point, the policies are what we need to do, and our procedures and plans are how we're going to do that, right?
Exactly.
So a little bit more granularity of detail. But what's really important here, and once again, we have government flavor here, is that your policies hold your company accountable, right?
That's right.
For what you're going to do in the environment. So in the event you have a knucklehead that decides to, the classic one I like to use is they like to look at inappropriate sites with their corporate system, right? Go into either gambling sites or
I was going to say they're making their fortune.
Entertainment, right? Exactly, or Bitcoin mining or whatever it is, right? Using that asset for something you haven't authorized. How do you hold them accountable? It starts with that policy.
That's right.
If you can show that, yes, I have this in the policy, it's black and white, you're not doing that, that gives you grounds to terminate that employee,
also
right?
make sure that they've signed or
there it is.
Annotated that they've
there's
acknowledged said party or policy.
Thank you. Great catch. Yep. 2 parts. So have the policy, make sure they review the policy, sign their life away on that, and then you're covered, right? Now, Colorado's an at-will state, so we could, if we don't like somebody, we have a bad day, we can technically fire somebody, right? But once again, that's still somewhat shaky ground.
I think our engineer got a little nervous when you said that.
Yeah, he probably did. That's good. It's good to keep him on his toes. Keeps them honest, right?
That's right.
But if you're not an at-will state, it's critical you have those policies, right?
That's right, because you have to show there's a reason or a cause.
And
absolutely.
Then one other thing I want to just point out real quick, Mike, on the policies, when we say what we're going to do, your example of saying you will have at least a 12-digit long password and you will use complexity, well, we also need wherever possible to reinforce that policy with a technical control.
That's right.
That actually does it for real. Like, for instance, on Windows systems, right? Going into that local security policy, if you're a standalone system looking for password length, setting it to 12, right?
Yeah, try to give our users not the option to make sure that they have to do that.
Take it out of their hands. Just relying on them to be faithful to what you said in the policy, that's a weak hand. So don't play that. If it's all you've got, that's a starting point. But always, always, always try and reinforce policy with some kind of technical control to reinforce that and keep your employees keep them away from temptation, right?
It also shows the next stage. If they go around your technical controls, they're willfully not following the policy.
Exactly.
So,
even more grounds for disciplinary action.
Yeah.
And make sure you include that in your policy as well, is what happens if your knuckleheads don't follow that.
Yep.
Then what do you have, for reciprocity there? So that
especially
was awesome.
I'm finding the younger generation loves to get around things. My son in high school,
right.
They had their stuff, and he's like, "Hey, we all got around the firewall at the school," and I'm like,
okay.
Ethical. You got to be ethical, son.
Following his dad's footsteps.
I know.
That's all I'll say.
I was a little proud, but that's.
Just a bit. I was just going to say I appreciate the ambulance out there. We're recording this live, so
yeah.
I'm sure that got picked up on the audio. That's great. So yeah, somebody was having their life saved out there. It's a busy day in Colorado Springs. So some of our main policies or plans that we need to have are continuity of operations planning, right? Disaster recovery and change management.
Change management, that's a big one that a lot of people don't even think about.
Right. We did a Sitrep on it.
Yeah. Well,
so check that out.
Having gone through some compliance things, I realized the importance of annotation.
Critical.
So we didn't just do something. We thought about what we were going to do. We documented what we were going to do. We got approval for what we were going to do. And then we did it.
Exactly. And, a lot of people would say, well, we're a really small company, Mike. I write the law for everything that happens, right?
And I feel the same. However, should you come into any kind of compliance need or insurance to back up to, no, this is what we're doing. We don't do these things willy-nilly.
We're not
we have
cowboys.
Processes and procedures in place that will save us from that.
Exactly. So there you go. Even if you're a one-man band, have some kind of CM plan, you'll be good. Now, one thing I still want to mention, I mentioned this in the previous Ring 3, is that we have an excellent free resource available for us. If you don't know how to spell any of these, check out the NIST Special Publication 800 series of documents.
That's right.
They are computer security specific, and guess what? They have things in there for COOP, DRP, and configuration management.
Some nice little templates.
Yeah, and templates. But even that's a great part. But they do a good job of explaining what the plan is for, how to implement it properly in your environment.
What the template is doing for you versus just put in your name here.
If you have a decent level of reading comprehension, you're going to get it, right? It's not, they've made it accessible to non-computer security geeks. And I love you guys for that. Thank you, NIST. Dr. Ross, awesome. Very cool. All right, so let's get to the touchy subject of resources.
Yeah, so we're running policies. We've implemented these things. But who in your organization is responsible to maintain and do these things?
Yes, the doers.
That's right. And it's not in most small businesses that you have barely probably an IT person on staff, because that's difficult. Much less, a cybersecurity specific person on staff. Right. So, there are options to outsource this. We provide what's called a virtual or fractional Chief Information Security Officer, CISO. Tons of organizations do that. You have managed service providers, MSPs, that can manage your IT infrastructure. And sometimes they come with their own COOPs and incident response plans and those kind of things for you. But it takes your management.
Right. That's why it's an edge, right? Because it is going to be a cost, significant cost, to be honest, right? And it requires senior level leadership buy-in to make that a reality, right? So if you can swing it and you can hire a professional to work in your organization, that's great. But please realize cybersecurity SMEs are not inexpensive. Subject matter expert SME. They are worth every penny, and you will pay dearly for them if, especially you're in a non-technical business, you may have sticker shock when you see what these salaries are for these people, right? So if you can't go that route, let's just say target, I'll be generous, let's say $125,000 a year for a mid-level cybersecurity person that can do SIEM analysis, and basically they're dangerous, right? They know what they're doing, right?
That would be that's
low. I know I'm being low. I'm trying,
but it's mid-range. It's kind of what you would...
Exactly. I'm trying to pad it here.
That's right.
So $125,000 a year, you're paying for that person's salary. Maybe a bridge too far for a small organization. So to Mike's point, maybe you can find fractional or virtual support for a fraction of that, right? Let's say you pay $30,000 a year or $40,000 a year for that outsourced asset, and you're getting access to not only one person, but usually a team of people, right, that are giving you that subject matter expertise you need at a price point you can afford.
And they also won't leave.
Right, exactly.
Sometimes you get a subject matter expert inside, and they're doing great guns for you, and they'll get pilfered by another company who wants...
I swear, it's a rough industry.
4 million open cybersecurity jobs.
Really?
Yep, in the U.S. today.
Yikes.
So they move quickly. That's why the rates are what they are. And
so 125 is your starting point, and then you better be ready to pay them, because they will leave, they will jump. So that's a whole nother sit rep there in and of itself. But
how do we keep our employees happy?
The point is, this is your biggest expense, right?
I found a chain to the desk.
Oh, did you?
Yeah,
nice.
That way they can't leave.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, nice. Very nice. I like that.
I don't know if it's happy, but
once again, you're going to have to give me like a week-long crash course of Mike's School of Hard Knocks.
how do you keep employees near their desk?
I haven't quite done that with my staff members yet, but we'll definitely have a talk.
Yeah, could be another sit
I like
rep.
where you're
Like,
I like where you're going there.
It's that military mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so cybersecurity resources, and then here's the part that really, depending on your point of view, it's either a no-brainer or you're like, oh man, this just isn't going to get any better. And that's, you got to upkeep everything, right? You have to do continuous assessment and adjustments of your security posture, right? Because
threats change.
Yeah, threats change and your business changes, right?
Absolutely.
Infrastructure changes, personnel change, right? You're always going to have some moving parts in your organization. I don't care how small or large you are, you're going to have change.
Well, most of us want to grow, right? Our idea is to
yes.
get bigger and better at what we do,
Right.
which means you're going to have to update
Right.
both your infrastructure as long with your people.
Yeah.
And
when you go from 2 people to 10 people,
it's a major
you
change.
save some money on gear, and all of a sudden that gear isn't going to work anymore. Well, now you need to do that whole trail on it, right?
Yep.
Setting it up for auditing, making sure you've got a configuration managed, et cetera, blah, blah, blah. All that
all the stuff
right,
goes in.
has to be redone on that.
That's right. And that's, again, where the management comes in.
Yes.
So like your policies, your procedures we mentioned, that's not signed off of your IT person. That's signed off from senior leadership because they're the ones who have the authority to say to do it.
Right. The purse, right? The power of the purse.
That's right. So when we go to continuously keeping this up, it's the senior leadership who's like, okay, we are going to do from A to X. We got a new contract.
Exactly.
Hiring 10 more people.
Here's our budget.
What's it going to take?
Yeah, exactly.
So I always say cyber is a business decision influenced by the IT people, meaning the IT people provide that technical, I understand what we need.
Right.
But business people, the business management team has to sign off.
Absolutely.
And accept the risk of what they can't afford.
Yeah, because there's nothing worse. You guys get to this point, you get all this implemented, and then your management lets it fall apart. That's worse, in my opinion, than not doing it to begin with.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly, or they don't do the buy-in.
Right, exactly. And then at that point, you should be shopping and go find somebody that's going to pay you what you're worth, right?
We're doing compliance things, and I can't tell you the number of IT people that are working with us that then say, yeah, but our CEO wants to have this gaming software on his company laptop, and he owns the company. Can he do it? And I'm like, he can try to pass that through a government inspection by saying he authorized it. He's accepting that risk. Yeah. But it's not a wise.
And you just bring up another great topic for another sit rep is how do you give the bad news, up and down chain and still keep your job, right?
That's right.
And find that balance. That's definitely going to be another sit rep. So
that's a problem that we all face.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, Mike, I think we're at the end of the edge, man. We're there, and his point, it's a hamster wheel of doom, and you go back and you start over, and just
revisit
keep on
the core, then revisit ring 1, 2, 3.
At least annually, right?
Absolutely.
If
and
more
then at
frequently,
edge,
great.
You're redoing your policies, procedures based on how you looked at all the rings. So it is a never-ending cycle. I like to say cybersecurity is a myth because you're never going to get there.
True.
Right?
But I would like to counter, it is manageable, right? It can be managed effectively. Look at all these different areas, prioritize, and go from there.
It's risk management. And that's really what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Knowing
Defense
what
in
you
depth,
are.
risk management, right?
Yep.
Absolutely. Another sit rep.
That's right. So, we've been coming to you from the Studio 809 Community Podcast Studio here at the Next Us, a professional cooperative environment for small businesses in downtown Colorado Springs. We're here talking to you to small businesses, and we're here supporting small businesses. So remember to like and follow, and we'll see you next time.
All right. Give us feedback, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.